College football fans, Hawkeye fans, welcome back or welcome in to the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog, the channel created by the college football fan for the college football fan, the only channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape. If you have been lost in the quagmire, lost in nature, trying to find a college football channel for you, the casual fan or the fanatic, a gathering spot, a safe haven, and a safe zone to celebrate and give thanks to the greatest sporting event that we have, welcome home. You found it here on the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. It's a great honor and a pleasure to be with you again this week. And what's on tap for you is my Week 8 preview and picks episode. That's right, the season is already halfway over with. It's just going by like sands through the hourglass. So are college football days of our lives. So my usual episode, I've got three sections today to be going through. I have, first of all, I'll be sharing my Week 8's ultimate underdogs with you, followed by Week 8's trap games, and then everybody's favorite segment each and every week, my Pick'em segment, where I have selected 13 games for you to give you and present my insight, my opinion. 13 games, but within those 13 games will be 4 specialty games. So definitely want to stick around, hang out, get comfortable, put up your feet. You're going to have a good time here in the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. And before I continue, I got to give a shout out and give thanks to you, the Black and Gold Vlog family. Thank you for all that you have done for the channel and all that you will continue to do. Everything is trending in the right direction, so let's keep up the momentum. So please like, share, rate, comment, subscribe, click that notification button. Because what I do, if this is your first time joining me here on the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog, welcome, first of all. But I always encourage, ask for, and welcome your comments. Because you, the college football fan, are the one who drives these episodes. It's an absolute pleasure for me to be here with you, to share my love for all things college football with you. So please, get involved, let your voice be heard, exercise your right, comment below, and I promise I will get back to each and every one of you much sooner than later, individually via those comments. So please light up the comment section and don't forget to subscribe, because I want to find more college football fans just like you. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So my first segment today is going to be the what?
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
That can mean only one thing. It's time for Week 8's ultimate underdogs. Matchups to where certain teams are going to be on the wrong side of the point spread. But these are 3 teams and 3 matchups who I think can and potentially will pull the upset this week here in Week 8. So let's go ahead and get to Week 8's ultimate underdogs. And as I do each and every week, pay attention, because one of these 3 matchups will make my Pick'em segment, and I will pick the underdog outright to pull the victory. So Week 8's first ultimate underdog, my small dog when it comes down to the point spread, or this week's Schnauzer, number 7 Alabama travels to number 11 Tennessee, a rivalry renewed each and every year. It's that time of year again. It's mid-October, so that means that these 2 teams have to meet on the gridiron. This time they match up on Rocky Top. Number 11 Tennessee, they find themselves a 3-point underdog at home, so a slight underdog at home against mighty Alabama. So we'll see what the Volunteers can do. A little bit rough last week for both of these squads. potentially maybe both of these teams were looking ahead. Last week, Alabama really struggled at home against South Carolina. I think ended up winning by 2 points. And Tennessee struggled at home against Florida. They ended up picking up the victory in overtime. So big time matchup between these rivals this year. My next ultimate underdog for week 8, this week's medium dog, or maybe the Cocker Spaniel here for week 8, TCU, who is a 4.5-point underdog. They travel to Utah to take on the two Utes. That's right, Utah's coming off a tough loss last week, not only on the field, but also they lose quarterback Cam Rising, who just found his way back to playing. He's out now with a leg injury. So how is Utah going to respond? Are they prepared for life still without quarterback Cam Rising? I don't know. I think TCU is going to be game to potentially go up there to Salt Lake City inside Rice-Eccles Stadium and pull the upset. We'll have to wait and see. And my last ultimate underdog of week 8, my large dog, my pit bull, if you will, via the point spread, number 12 Notre Dame travels down to Hotlanta to take on Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets. Georgia Tech currently is an 11-point underdog at home. Notre Dame definitely has responded very well after that loss to Northern Illinois, who then, a week or two later lost to Buffalo. So Notre Dame is playing much better football, and if they do win out, they still have every opportunity to get into the college football playoff field, especially that win week 1 at Texas A&M is looking much better for the Fighting Irish. But don't sleep on Tech. This Yellow Jacket squad, very tough, very physical. They try to dominate on the lines of scrimmage. They want to pull you into a good old-fashioned rock fight, and they're going to run downhill right at you. So they better come out ready to play against this Tech squad, or else they're going to find themselves in the rear view from their running back. So Notre Dame, you better be on the lookout. So those are my 3 ultimate underdogs for week 8. I think at least one, if not all 3, could potentially pull those upsets, but I'm only going to pick one. All right. So that moves us now to my next segment. One of my favorite segments I do each and every week, my trap games for that week. And I'm joined, as always, here in the studio, a.k.a. the Man Cave, a.k.a. my basement, by a special guest who's going to help me out with this segment. My first trap game, I always give you 3 each week. My first trap game for week 8, number 8 LSU, who is a 2.5-point favorite. They travel to Fayetteville to take on Arkansas. I'm putting LSU on Trap Alert here in week 8. This is a classic letdown opportunity for LSU. Last week, they scored at home a uber impressive, uber big-time victory over visiting Ole Miss. It keeps LSU alive not only in the SEC race, but also in the college football playoff race. So are they going to be able to come back down to earth, refocus, refresh, and play straight up against Arkansas? And this Razorback team is playing much better as of late. I think they're a better team than what their record shows. So I am absolutely putting LSU on Trap Alert, because if there ever was, this is absolutely what kind of a game?
It's a trap.
There he is, right on cue. Admiral Akbar is in postseason form here at midseason. Gotta love me some Admiral Akbar, the greatest of all squiddies. My next trap game for week 8, Oklahoma State travels to number 13 BYU. BYU favored up in Provo by 9 points. I'm putting BYU on Trap Alert. Here's why. This is another classic letdown spot. Last week up in Provo, BYU hosted the Fox Big Noon crew. It wasn't the Big Noon game of the week. That always usually will go to somebody in the Big Ten. But the pregame show was up there. Cosmo Cougar put on an absolute clinic when it came down to breakdancing. It was very impressive, by the way. So I think this is a big-time letdown spot for BYU after last week's big game, big matchup, a lot of media attention. They find themselves undefeated, number 13, absolutely not only in the Big 12 conference race, but in the college football playoff race. And I just think they're maybe due for a kind of a snoozer or that letdown game. And maybe they're also looking forward to next week's matchup at UCF. So I am absolutely putting the Cougars on. What kind of a game is this again, Admiral?
It's a trap.
Absolutely. All right, now my third and final trap game of Week 8. Number 14, Texas A&M, who is a 15.5-point favorite on the road. They travel down to Starkville to take on Mississippi State and the Cowbells. I'm putting Texas A&M on Trap Alert because this is, if ever there was, a classic look-ahead spot. Next week, they host down in College Station. Number 8, LSU comes calling. And I think they're going to be looking ahead to that game. A&M's having a terrific season under first-year coach Mike Elko. And Mississippi State is 1-5 overall, 0-3, I believe, in the SEC. But they are playing a little bit better. I mean, they hung 31 points on Georgia last week. So they are playing better football. So A&M, you better not be sleeping on the Mississippi State on the Bulldogs. They're looking ahead, or else you're going to find yourself paying the cost because this is
It's a trap.
Absolutely. Thank you, Admiral, for your assistance. And that, everyone, is my trap games for Week 8. Please like, share, comment below, get involved, rate, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the channel. Let me know of what you think as far as my opinions, my insight, the facts that I present. Can't wait to hear from you. Please subscribe. Let's go and keep a good thing going. Now it's time for me to move into everyone's favorite segment each and every week, my preview and pick'em segment for Week 8. I already mentioned I've got 13 games that I select each and every week. Some of these are the big games that you would expect to make this list, and some are kind of games that are off the radar, but I always try to have a little bit of Viva variety. I always try to include games from different conferences, big name programs, smaller programs, because all of them need to be celebrated and they all deserve a little bit of attention throughout the season. And within those 13 games, I will have 4 specialty games. I always have an Academy game of the week, a non-Power 4 matchup game of the week, and I always have my Iowa pick when Iowa is playing, which they are in action this coming weekend. And the 4th game of my specialties is this week's Spotlight game, the big-time matchup that you definitely don't want to miss on the gridiron this upcoming weekend. All right, so let's go ahead and get into my 13 previews and picks. Number 1 out of the gate, big tilt in the ACC. Number 6, Miami. They travel down over to Louisville to take on the Cardinals. Louisville currently is a 5-point underdog at home against the visiting, highly ranked, undefeated Hurricanes. I like Coach Jeff Brom. I'm really kind of happy he's no longer at Purdue because he kind of had Iowa's number. I mean, this guy is an offensive guru. I mean, how he can basically run an offense is he's like a beautiful maestro up there in front of the orchestra. But I just think this Miami team is too much, and I think they are for real. As I did predict in my preseason episode, I like Miami to get to the college football playoff. Cam Ward, their quarterback, absolutely right now a Heisman Trophy finalist. I think they're too much. I like Miami on the road to take care of Louisville. Not easily, but I think they will pull away in the 4th quarter, cover, and win by at least double digits. Give me the Hurricanes in that game. Next game up, big game in the Big Ten. Nebraska, coming off their bye week, they hit the road and they traveled to Bloomington, Indiana to take on number 16, Indiana, who is there ranked and undefeated. Yes, this is not basketball season, it's football season, and Indiana, one of the great stories of this college football season, under first-year coach Cignetti, formerly from James Madison, the Dukes. IU currently is a 6.5-point favorite at home against the Cornhuskers. IU, great story, but I think this hands down will be the best defense they faced all season. Nebraska, yes. Dylan Raiola, stud quarterback, but still he's a freshman. Is he going to make those freshman mistakes each and every game? Absolutely, he's learning. But this is the best defense they're going to play Indiana all season. And this Nebraska offense is tough. They're stubborn. They're going to be in the game until the very end. And I do like Nebraska to pull the upset. I think this great story comes to an end, but it's been a great season regardless of what happens from here out for Indiana. But I just like Nebraska on the road, pulling the upset. Give me the Children of the Corn. Next game up, big game here for the locals. I grew up in Northwest Illinois. Kind of explains my love and passion for all things black and gold. I currently live in the Show Me state of Missouri. So this game's big. Auburn travels to number 19 Missouri. The Tigers find themselves a 4.5-point favorite at home. It's homecoming weekend. You don't want that weekend to be spoiled by the visitor. Auburn defense pretty stout, but offensively they're offensive. I mean, their offense really struggling. They have little to no offense, and trust me, being an Iowa fan, I kind of know about offensive struggles, okay? Auburn can't score. Missouri can. I think Auburn's defense keeps it competitive for a half, but I like Missouri to pull away and cruise to the victory. Give me the Tigers big in this matchup. Next game, a big-time game. Could have maybe been my spotlight game of the week, but I chose another. Number 7 Alabama travels to number 11 Tennessee. Tennessee is that 3-point underdog at home. And yes, this is my ultimate underdog upset of the week. I like Tennessee at home. This Alabama team, still a upper echelon program. Coach DeBoer is still doing very well in his first season, but everybody now is expecting him to live up to the GOAT, the legend, former coach Nick Saban. It just isn't going to happen. Tennessee's defense, really, really good. I know Nico Lamaveala, I believe that's how they say it. Tennessee's young quarterback is also going to make freshman, sophomore mistakes. It's going to happen. But I just think Tennessee's defense and that ruckus crowd there on Rocky Top, I believe this is the primetime game as well. It's going to help the Volunteers get over the hump. I like Tennessee in this matchup over the visiting Tide. Sorry, Kathy, but give me Tennessee in this year's matchup of these two rivals. Next game, another big tilt in the Big Ten. There's a lot on the line here for both of these squads. Number 24, Michigan travels to Champaign-Urbana to take on number 22, Illinois. Illinois currently is a 3-point underdog at home. Both of these teams have one conference loss. Michigan has two losses overall. One, their last game out against Washington up in the Pacific Northwest, and then non-conference when they got absolutely housed and embarrassed in the Big House versus Texas. Michigan's backs completely against the wall, even though their pass offense is non-existent. I believe they're like 130th out of 133 overall in passing offense per game. Illinois, great story. I love me some Coach Bert Bielema up there. Hey, Bert, I just do. But I think Michigan, even though they are one-dimensional, I think they do that dimension so well, and they know what's on the line for them. I think Michigan finds a way to get it done against the Fighting Illini. when it comes down to it, Illinois, I don't know. I just don't know how good this team is yet. I just don't. It's hard for me to really identify who they are and see some consistency. So because of that, I'm putting more faith in Michigan. Give me the maize and blue on the road to get it done. Next matchup, I've got to give a shout out. This week, you're going to have double the fun when it comes down to the academy teams, because since they find themselves undefeated and ranked, I've got to include them. This game, Charlotte travels to number 25 Navy, the midshipmen. Like I mentioned, undefeated, ranked. Navy is a 17-point favorite at home. Charlotte, really bad, one of the worst Division I teams in all of college football. Give me Navy each and every day and twice on Sunday, or in this case, twice on Saturday. Give me Navy in this matchup. Roll on Navy. All right, next game up for you, big one. Kind of like the last chance for either one of these two teams in the Big 12. Houston, the Cougars, they travel to Kansas to take on the Jayhawks. Kansas finds themselves a 5.5-point favorite. I believe this game is going to be played in Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. I'm really having trouble with both of these teams. I did expect Houston to struggle this season under first-year coach Fritz. I believe Houston is 2-4, while Kansas is 1-5. I love me some Jalen Daniels, their stud quarterback. I just don't know where he's been this year. This team has been one of the biggest letdowns for me personally. Last year, Kansas won me a lot of money when I told you all to pick them to go over their 6.5 win total that was made via Vegas. So I cashed in, as did you, if you took my advice. But I'm just going with Kansas in this game. I just know more about them, and I like Coach. I love me some Coach Lance Leipold. Maybe someday he'll be on the Iowa sideline. Who knows? So give me Kansas in this matchup. Kind of a toss-up to me, but I'm going to go with the Jayhawks, even though they are a made-up bird. But next matchup, big one. Number 17, Kansas State. They travel east to Morgantown to take on West Virginia, the Mountaineers. The Mountaineers find themselves a 3.5-point underdog at home. Earlier this week, Coach Neil Brown put out a little presser, or I guess you could call it not an advertisement, but just a little FYI, telling the fans at West Virginia, please be patient. I know it's been a tough start. That's never a good thing for a coach to do. Trust me. I think maybe things are about to come off the wheels there for West Virginia. K-State, following that loss against BYU, has been playing really good football. I love this team. I think they go on the road, take care of the Mountaineers fairly easily. Sorry, West Virginia fans, no singing Take Me Home Country Roads this week. I'm taking the Wildcats in that matchup. My last game before I get to my specialties, big tilt, really a lot of pride on the line in this SEC contest. Kentucky travels to the Swamp to take on Florida. Florida finds themselves a 1.5 underdog. So basically this is a complete toss-up game. Both of these two teams really struggling. I think they're both 3-3 overall. I think the winner of this matchup could potentially get to bowl eligibility. The other, I believe right now, and I'll say it very comfortably, will not. And I could really see both of these teams not getting to postseason play, but whoever wins this game, I think, will have the better opportunity. Florida has struggled, but they have looked better the last couple games. Kentucky, they take Georgia to the wire at home and lose by 1 point in Lexington. And then they follow that up with a upset special over Ole Miss. This is a tough game for me to read, but they're at home. I'm taking Florida in the Swamp because I think overall they just have more talent. They're at home. Give me the Gators in this big matchup. All right, guys and girls, sports fans of all ages alike, it's time for me to get to my 4 specialty games here of Week 8. Please like, share, rate, comment, get involved below. Let me know what you think of the channel and the episode so far. Do you agree, disagree with some of my hot takes? Let me know. I can't wait to hear from you. So let's go ahead and get into my first specialty game this week. This is my Academy game of the week, which I always include one of these games that include one of the 3 members of the service academies, Army, Air Force, or Navy, as my way to salute and say thank you to the fighting men and women of the United States Armed Services, both present and past. So this one is East Carolina, the Pirates. They travel to West Point, upstate New York, to take on number 23 and undefeated Army. Army finds themselves a 16-point favorite at home with the Cadets in-house. And I believe this is the first time since 1960 that both Army and Navy are ranked. I mean, that's great for college football. That's another one of the great early season or midpoint of the season stories in college football with Army and Navy, their success, both ranked, both undefeated. I think that continues. I already picked Navy to get the dub. I like Army big in this matchup. Give me the Black Knights to march to victory. I'm taking Army, and I salute you. My next specialty game this week, this is my non-power, my group of 5 matchup or my non-power 4 matchup. However you want to look at it, it leads you to the same conclusion. So this week's matchup between non-power 4 combatants, it's a big one in the MAC. I love me some action. I've got Toledo. The Rockets travel up to DeKalb to take on NIU, the Huskies of Northern Illinois. NIU finds themselves a 2.5-point favorite. Already mentioned that big program announcing victory earlier this year at Notre Dame in front of Touchdown Jesus, who I believe is probably also a fan of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. But then they lose to Buffalo a couple weeks after that. I love me some NIU. I grew up watching NIU football when I grew up in Northwest Illinois. But I just like Toledo. The Rockets, they do what they do in the MAC. Slow, steady. They have a history of turning out good records, good coaches. They're always perennially at the top of the MAC. Give me Toledo to go on the road and pull the upset. I'm taking the Rockets to blast off this week over the Huskies. Next is my Iowa pick of the week. The Hawkeyes are in action. Last week, put together finally their best and most complete performance of the year with their big victory at home over Washington. We're solid in all 3 phases of football. This week they travel to East Lansing to take on mighty Michigan State and Sparty, who's roided and juiced up like no one's business. Michigan State finds themselves a 5.5-point underdog in this matchup. Michigan State, I love me the green and white. I respect their program. I love everything about Sparty. I love Aiden Childs, their young quarterback, and that's the whole point, is young quarterback. He is going to blossom into an absolute playmaker, but he is struggling a little bit. Michigan State does have that victory over Maryland, which I didn't see that coming early in the Big Ten season. I think Michigan State will challenge Iowa, but right now, if Iowa can just keep their momentum from last week's performance, I think they will be able to get into East Lansing, control the lines of scrimmage. I think Caleb Johnson will keep doing what he does. He'll rush for 150 yards or more, at least 2 rushing touchdowns. And I think that Iowa defense eventually just makes things difficult for young Aiden Childs to really perform and be consistent, especially if that defense forces Michigan State to pass when they have to, not necessarily when they want to. I think they could potentially eat him alive. I just like Iowa's depth. I like their experience to go on the road, get it done against Sparty. Give me the Hawkeyes in this matchup. Go Hawks. All right, that brings me to my final specialty game and my final pick here in Week 8. My spotlight game of the week. It can be none other than this. Enough said. Number 5, Georgia, travels to Austin to take on number 1, Texas. Texas currently is a 5-point favorite at home. I'm sure my guy Matthew McConaughey will be on site. Yeah. All right. Love me some Matthew McConaughey. Georgia already has one loss in SEC play. Big game for both of these squads, but I think it's absolutely much bigger for Georgia, because if Georgia loses this game, there's their second loss in conference. At that point, getting to the SEC title game pretty much will be all but lost, and they still have to play at Ole Miss, which is not going to be a layup at all. So if they end up with 3 losses, it's going to be really tough to say Georgia is absolutely for sure a playoff participant, because yes, they have a good non-conference win over Clemson. As long as Clemson keeps winning and doesn't fall flat, that will help Georgia. But if they end up with 3 losses, I don't think they may not get into that playoff. And we all know how good they were supposed to be. That doesn't matter. With 3 losses, it's going to be tough for them to get into the college football playoff. I think they're playing for so much this week. I don't want to say it's a must win, but it's pretty damn close for Georgia. Texas right now has really had a cakewalk so far, not just in the SEC, but really overall. They have not played a single team that really has a pulse or a heartbeat as far as passing attack. Yes, they beat their rival Oklahoma last week, 34-3, absolute beatdown. But I think Oklahoma is like 128th or 26th in passing yards per game. They have no pass attack. Michigan, I already mentioned, is like 130th who they've played and defeated. I mean, they've played nobody yet that's really a upper caliber team. Georgia will be their biggest test to this point. But this Georgia offense has not looked very impressive to me. They just haven't. I think the losses of Vlad McConkey and Bowers, their stud tight end, is really starting to show up. Who is going to step up for Georgia on the perimeter especially and show to be a consistent, reliable wide receiver or playmaker? We'll have to wait and see. But I think Texas is just, they have the edge in this game. It's at home. And this is really a tough game for me to call, because either way, whoever loses, it's really going to be something to see the fan response. To Georgia's fans, I think will be absolutely crushed that they have 2 losses. And what I said will be staring them in the face. A third loss, they may not get into the playoff. But Texas right now, their fans are on a different level. They're cloud 9 and then some, to where if they lose this game at home, there'll be a lot of chit-chat. Oh, we're not as good as we thought. Our egos are so large. We have to deflated now. So it will be a fun thing to see what the aftermath of this matchup will be. But I'm slightly leaning, and I give the edge to Texas because they're at home. I think they've shown to be more complete. Quinn Ewers will play again this week. Arch Manning is ready to back him up. Give me the Longhorns at home over Georgia. And then things are going to get really, really interesting in the SEC and the college football race when Georgia loses this game. Well, that's it, guys. That's it. That's my episode, my Week 8 preview and picks. Please don't forget to like, share, rate, comment below. I can't wait to hear from you. Please subscribe and support the channel. I do plan on being back this weekend. I will do a instant reaction and recap for the Iowa-Michigan State game. Probably will be posted early Sunday morning, so definitely don't want to miss that. To get notifications, just click that button. I don't want you to miss that one. It's going to be a fun one. But if not, I will plan on seeing you next week at some point. So until then, I want to say thank you for your time, your attention, your support. It means so much to me. Enjoy the rest of your work week, your school week. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe. Be responsible. Enjoy the football. And I'll see you next week or this weekend on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.